Commander Maya Chen stood at the observation window of the Galactic Council's flagship, her dark eyes fixed on the massive ship approaching through the star-studded void. Even from this distance, she could tell it wasn't built by humans. Its organic, flowing design marked it as Zenthian, one of the elder races that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. "Still can't believe they're doing this to us," growled Jackson beside her. Like Maya, Lieutenant Tom Jackson wore the blue and silver uniform of Earth Space Force, though he was considerably more wrinkled. Maya watched her reflection in the window as she straightened her own uniform. "They're not doing anything to us, Jackson. They're testing us." "Testing us? They've kept Earth under quarantine for 50 years. They call our home a dangerous, primitive world and treat us like we're either savages or victims. And now they want to test us?" Before Maya could respond, a soft chime echoed through the observation deck. The ship's AI spoke in its usual calm tones. "Commander Chen and Lieutenant Jackson, your presence is requested in Testing Chamber 1. Maya turned from the window, squaring her shoulders. "Well, here we go. Try not to punch any aliens today, Jackson." "No promises, Commander." The walk to Testing Chamber 1 took them through corridors filled with various alien species. Maya noticed how they all gave the humans a wide berth. Some showed obvious fear, others disgust, and a few— was that pity in their eyes? The chamber itself was massive, easily the size of a football field. The walls, floor, and ceiling were made of some kind of shifting metallic material that seemed to flow like liquid mercury. At the center stood 3 Zenthians. Maya had seen their kind before, but they still took her breath away. 12 feet tall, with bodies that seemed to be made of living light and crystal, the Zenthians were beautiful in an alien, untouchable way. Their thoughts were communicated through pulses of color that rippled through their crystalline forms. The central Zenthian, its form pulsing with deep blue light, spoke. Its words were translated by the chamber's AI. "Commander Chen, Lieutenant Jackson, we have reviewed your species application to join the Galactic Alliance for 50 Earth years. Today we begin the final test." Jackson muttered something under his breath. Maya shot him a warning look. "With respect," she said, "what exactly are we being tested for?" "Earth has met all the technological requirements for Alliance membership. We've proven we can travel between stars. We've demonstrated our scientific achievements. What more do you need?" The Zenthian's colors shifted to a pattern of green and gold. "We need to understand what you are." "What we are?" Jackson stepped forward. "We're human beings. You are the only known sentient species to evolve on a Class 13 death world," the Zenthian interrupted. "The only beings in recorded history to achieve spaceflight while living on a planet that should have killed you 1,000 times over. This makes you an anomaly." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "And anomalies make you nervous?" "Anomalies make us curious." The Zenthian's form brightened. "Your test begins now. You will be transported to a simulation chamber. There you will face challenges that no other species has survived." "Wait," Maya held up her hand. "Just the 2 of us?" "You represent your species. If you survive, Earth joins the Alliance. If you fail—" The Zenthian's colors darkened. "Then the quarantine continues. Forever." Before either human could protest, the chamber's mercury-like walls began to move. The floor beneath them shifted, and Maya felt a strange tingling sensation throughout her body. The last thing she heard was the Zenthian's translated voice. "Show us what Earth has taught you." Then everything went black. Maya awoke to the sound of the wind howling through alien trees. She was lying on purple grass under a green sky. Beside her, Jackson was already on his feet, scanning their surroundings. "Commander," he said quietly, "I think we have company." Maya stood up slowly, her military training kicking in as she assessed their situation. They had no weapons, no equipment, just their uniforms. And Jackson was right. Something was moving in the strange forest around them. She could hear heavy breathing. Lots of it. Back to back, she ordered. Jackson moved instantly, pressing his back against hers as they turned in a slow circle. Red eyes began to appear in the shadows between the trees, dozens of them. "Hey, Commander." Jackson's voice was surprisingly calm. "Remember what they said about Earth being a death world?" "Yeah." "I think we're about to show them why that's not a bad thing." The first creature stepped into view, a massive, six-legged predator with obsidian scales and razor-sharp tentacles where its face should be. Maya smiled grimly. "Just like training, Lieutenant. Just like home." The creatures attacked. The tentacled creatures moved like liquid shadow, their obsidian scales reflecting the green light of the alien sky. Maya's mind raced through her survival training. 6 legs meant they'd be fast but would need more time to change direction. The tentacled faces suggested they hunted by touch rather than sight, despite the glowing red eyes. "Jackson," she whispered, "remember the Amazon training? The pit viper exercise?" A grin crept into his voice. "Oh yeah." The first creature lunged. Instead of jumping back, Maya and Jackson dove forward, in opposite directions. The creature's tentacles whipped through empty air where they had been standing. The sudden move confused the other predators, making them hesitate. That split second was all Maya needed. She rolled to her feet, snatching up a handful of the purple grass. Earth's higher gravity had given humans something special. Incredible reaction speed compared to most alien life. She hurled the grass at the nearest creature's sensory tentacles. The effect was instant. The beast reared back, its tentacles twisting in confusion as they tried to process the unfamiliar sensation. On Earth, Maya had learned that most predators relied on predictable prey behavior. When prey did something unexpected, it disrupted their hunting patterns. "Commander," Jackson called out. He had backed up against one of the tree-like plants. "These things are hollow, and there's something inside them." Maya ducked under a swinging tentacle, her muscles burning pleasantly in the lighter gravity. "Cover me." Jackson immediately started making as much noise as possible, drawing the creature's attention. Maya sprinted toward the nearest tree, noticing for the first time that they weren't really trees at all. They were more like giant tubes of plant matter. She slammed her fist into the surface, and it cracked easily. Inside, she found exactly what she'd hoped for: liquid. Every life-bearing world needed water or something like it. "Jackson, the trees are full of fluid. These things hunt by vibration and chemical sensing. Let's overwhelm them." Understanding flashed across Jackson's face. Back on Earth, they'd trained to deal with pit vipers by disrupting the snake's sensory pits. This wasn't so different. Working together, they began breaking open the tree tubes, creating pools of liquid that splashed and rippled. The predator's tentacles went wild, whipping around in confusion as their sensory input overloaded. "Now!" Maya shouted. While they're disoriented. She and Jackson ran, not away from the creatures, but straight through them. It was another lesson from Earth. Sometimes the safest path was the one that seemed most dangerous. The confused predators, their hunting patterns completely disrupted, actually moved away from the humans. They sprinted until they reached a clearing, where they finally stopped to catch their breath. "Well," Jackson panted, "that was fun. Think we passed their test?" Maya was about to answer when the air shimmered around them. The forest scene dissolved, replaced by sterile white walls. They were in a small cubic room. A Zenthian voice echoed through hidden speakers. "Phase 1 complete. Proceeding to Phase 2. "Phase 2? Jackson groaned. "You've got to be kidding." The floor dropped out from under them. They fell into darkness, but it wasn't a normal fall. Maya felt like she was moving through thick syrup. The darkness pressed against her eyes until they were underwater. Deep underwater. Maya's military training kicked in again. She forced herself to stay calm as she looked around. They were in some kind of alien ocean. The water had a slightly purple tinge, and she could see bright, bioluminescent life forms floating in the distance. Surprisingly, she could breathe. Some kind of force field surrounded her head, extracting oxygen from the water. Jackson floated nearby, protected by the same technology. "Commander?" His voice came through clearly despite the water. "Please tell me you did the deep-sea training module." "Better," Maya replied. "I grew up in Singapore. Spent half my childhood diving in the South China Sea." She paused, studying their surroundings more carefully. "But I never saw anything like that." A massive shape moved in the darkness below them. Something big enough to swallow a submarine. The Zenthian voice returned, somehow clear even underwater. "Phase 2 begins now. Reach the surface, if you can." Jackson's eyes widened as he looked up. Far above them, maybe a kilometer up, a faint light marked the surface. "They want us to swim up there?" he asked. "With that thing below us?" Maya's mind was already working on the problem. On Earth, the deep ocean has taught humanity crucial lessons about pressure, about darkness, about survival in an alien environment. This might be an alien ocean, but the principles would be the same. "Jackson," she said slowly, "how much do you know about sperm whales?" "Earth's deep-diving whales?" "Not much." "Why?" "Because they taught us something important about surviving in the deep." She pointed to the bioluminescent creatures floating around them. "Everything we need to survive is already here. We just need to think like Earth taught us to think." The massive shape moved again, closer this time. Maya could now see it was something like a cross between a whale and a squid, with multiple eyes that glowed in the darkness. "Get ready," she told Jackson. "We're about to show these aliens another Earth survival lesson." The creature below them began to rise. "Remember what whales taught us," Maya said, watching the massive creature rise toward them. "In the deep, sound is survival." Jackson nodded, catching on quickly. "Echolocation?" "Better, communication." Maya pointed to the bioluminescent creatures around them. "These aren't just floating lights. They're responding to vibrations in the water. Watch." She clapped her hands. The sound traveled differently in the alien water, but the effect was immediate. The glowing creatures pulsed brightly, creating a wave of light that spread outward. The massive whale-squid creature halted its ascent, its multiple eyes tracking the light pattern. "It's not just a predator," Maya explained. "Earth's oceans taught us. The biggest creatures aren't always the most dangerous. Whales use sound to communicate, to navigate, and sometimes," she grinned, "to make friends." "Make friends? With that thing?" Jackson gestured at the creature's numerous tentacles and tooth-filled beak. "Commander, I know Earth's wildlife is crazy, but trust me." Maya started clapping in a rhythm, watching how the bioluminescent creatures responded. Each pattern of light seemed to convey different information. The whale squid's eyes followed each flash, its movements becoming less predatory and more curious. Jackson caught on and joined in, creating counterpoint rhythms. Soon they had orchestrated a symphony of light and vibration in the alien water. The massive creature began moving in time with their rhythms, its own bioluminescent patches starting to glow. "Now comes the crazy part," Maya said. "We need to grab its tentacles." "What?" "It's our ride to the surface. Look up. The water's getting darker. Some kind of storm is coming. We'll never make it up there on our own." As if confirming her words, they could see massive waves far above, making the distant surface light flicker ominously. The pressure around them was also increasing. Their protective bubbles wouldn't last forever. "This is insane," Jackson muttered, but he followed Maya's lead as she swam toward the creature's now gentle tentacles. "How did you know this would work?" On Earth, we learned that not everything that looks dangerous is an enemy. Sharks, whales, even some jellyfish. They all respond to the right signals. The universe isn't always about fighting. They each grabbed a tentacle. The creature's skin was surprisingly warm, and it pulsed with internal light. Instead of attacking, it seemed to welcome them, curling its tentacles securely around their waists. "Here we go," Maya called out. "Hold on tight." The creature surged upward with incredible speed. They shot through the purple water so fast that Maya's ears popped despite the protective field around her head. Jackson was whooping with a mixture of terror and excitement. But halfway to the surface, everything changed. The storm above wasn't just any storm. Maya could see electrical discharges in the water, but they moved in patterns too regular to be natural. And something else was descending toward them, thousands of crystalline shapes that glowed with familiar colors. "Zenthians," Jackson gasped. "In their true form?" Maya watched in awe as the crystalline beings moved through the water with liquid grace. This wasn't just a test anymore. This was first contact all over again. But this time, they were seeing the Zenthians in their natural environment. The whale squid creature slowed, singing into the water in subsonic vibrations that Maya could feel in her bones. The Zenthians responded with pulses of light that matched the patterns they had created earlier. "Commander," Jackson's voice was quiet with realization. "I don't think they were testing if we could survive." Maya nodded slowly. "They were testing if we could understand." She looked at the elaborate dance of light and sound around them, remembering all the strange and beautiful relationships between species they'd discovered in Earth's oceans. They wanted to know if Earth taught us to be more than just survivors. The nearest Zenthian approached, its crystalline form refracting the bioluminescent light into rainbow patterns. When it spoke, its words came not through speakers, but directly through the vibrations in the water. "You are the first species to pass Phase 2 as intended." "What do you mean?" Maya asked. "Others fought the Guardian." The Zenthian's colors pulsed with what might have been amusement. "They tried to kill it, to flee from it, to overpower it. None thought to communicate. None recognized a potential ally." "Earth taught us that," Jackson said proudly. "Every creature, no matter how strange or scary, has its own way of talking. You just have to learn to listen." "Indeed." The Zenthian's form brightened. "But now comes Phase 3. And for this," its colors darkened ominously, "for this, you will need everything your world has taught you. Because now you face us." The electrical storm above intensified. The whale squid guardian gently released them and retreated into the depths. Around them, thousands of Zenthians began to move in complex patterns, their crystals creating a cage of light. Maya and Jackson found themselves back to back again, floating in the center of an alien arena. "Commander," Jackson whispered, "what did Earth teach us about fighting living crystals?" Maya watched the patterns forming around them and smiled. "Who said anything about fighting?" The Zenthians began to sing. The Zenthians' song vibrated through the alien ocean, making Maya's teeth chatter. It wasn't just sound, it was light, pressure, and something else. Something that made her skin tingle like static electricity. "Jackson," she called out, "remember the volcanic vents? The underwater ones from Pacific training? What about them? How did we communicate when all our equipment failed?" Jackson's eyes lit up. "Body language, pressure signals." He paused. "You think we can talk to living crystals through vibrations?" "Worth a shot." Maya took a deep breath inside her protective bubble. "Follow my lead." She began to move her arms through the water in slow, deliberate patterns. On Earth, deep-sea creatures communicated through movement, pressure, and bioluminescence. The Zenthians had already shown they understood such things. Their entire bodies were made for it. The crystalline beings paused their song, their forms flickering with what might have been curiosity. Jackson caught on and started moving too, creating countercurrents in the water that complemented Maya's patterns. Together, they began to dance. It wasn't like any earth dance. This was more like the movement of coral polyps in a current, like the swaying of sea fans in the tide. They were speaking in the language of Earth's oceans. The nearest Zenthian pulsed bright blue. "You seek to communicate through motion?" "We seek to understand," Maya replied, continuing her fluid movements. "Earth taught us that survival isn't just about being strong or fast. It's about adapting, learning, becoming part of the environment around you." The Zenthians' crystal forms began to shift and flow, matching the humans' movements. The electrical storm above intensified, but now its patterns seemed more coordinated, almost musical. "Tell us," another Zenthian spoke, its voice resonating through the water, "what else did your prison world teach you?" "Earth was never a prison," Jackson said firmly, his movements becoming more confident. "Every challenge made us think differently. Every obstacle taught us something new." Maya added, "The depths taught us pressure doesn't have to crush you. It can support you. The heat of volcanoes taught us that what looks destructive can create new life. The cold of the Arctic taught us that stillness can be a strength." The Zenthians moved closer, their crystalline forms creating a dazzling light show around the humans. "Pretty words, but can you prove them?" Suddenly the pressure increased dramatically. Maya felt her protective bubble starting to compress. Beside her, Jackson grunted in pain, but Maya smiled. "You're using pressure to test us? Pressure is an old friend." She relaxed her body, remembering her deep-sea training. Humans had learned to free-dive deeper than any other known species, using nothing but their bodies and their minds. They'd learned to let pressure become part of them instead of fighting it. Jackson followed her example, his movements becoming more fluid as he adapted to the crushing force. The Zenthian's colors flickered with surprise. "You embrace the pressure?" "Earth embraced us first," Maya said. "High gravity made our bones strong. Dense atmosphere makes our lungs efficient. Deep oceans taught us to move with pressure, not against it." The electrical storm above had become a swirling vortex of energy. The Zenthians began to move faster, their crystals creating complex patterns of light and shadow. "Then show us," they said in unison. "Show us what Earth truly taught you." The water around them started to move in impossible ways, defying physics itself. Up became down, the light became a shadow, and the very fabric of space seemed to twist. But Maya and Jackson kept dancing. They'd learned from Earth's chaos, from its storms and quakes and shifting seas. They moved with the impossible currents, letting their bodies remember every lesson their world had taught them. And then Maya understood. "Jackson," she called out, "they're not testing our survival now. They're asking us to join their dance." The Zenthians' crystal forms had begun to harmonize with their movements, creating a symphony of light, sound, and motion. The crushing pressure became a rhythm, the swirling water a melody. "This is it," Maya realized. "This is what Earth was preparing us for. Not just to survive, but to dance with the universe itself." The electrical storm above opened like a flower of light, revealing something that made both humans gasp in wonder. Through the electric storm's center, Maya and Jackson saw their home. But not Earth as it appeared in photos from space. They saw Earth as the Zenthians saw it. It was alive with energy. Magnetic fields danced around it like aurora ribbons. The atmosphere sparkled with lightning and radio waves. The oceans pulsed with bioluminescent life. Even the core's movement was visible, a heartbeat of molten power. "Beautiful, isn't it?" The lead Zenthian's voice resonated through the water. "Your world isn't just active, it's coherent. Every system works together in a dance more complex than any other planet we've found." "And you thought this was a prison?" Jackson asked, still moving with the swirling currents. No. The Zenthian's crystals pulsed with amusement. We knew exactly what it was. We just needed you to understand. Maya watched the image of Earth spinning before them. Understand what? That Earth wasn't random chaos. It was a training program, designed eons ago by beings even older than us. Every challenge, every extreme condition, every seemingly hostile feature, all carefully calibrated. The water around them shifted, and suddenly they were surrounded by holographic images. Humans climbing Mount Everest, diving in deep oceans, surviving in deserts, dancing in storms. Look at your species, another Zenthian spoke. You don't just survive these conditions. You seek them out. You climb the highest peaks, dive the deepest trenches, cross the hottest deserts. Not because you must, but because Earth taught you to love the challenge. Maya felt tears mixing with the alien water around her face. Earth was training us. But for what? The Zenthians moved in perfect synchronization, their crystal forms creating a sphere around the humans. For them. The image of Earth disappeared, replaced by something that made both humans catch their breath. A massive galaxy-spanning web of energy, pulsing with life and purpose. The universe is alive, the lead Zenthian explained. Not just with individual living things, but as one vast, conscious system. Most species never learn to perceive it. They evolve on safe, stable worlds, and never develop the sensitivity needed to feel the cosmic dance. But Earth, Jackson started. Earth was designed to create dancers. The Zenthian's voice filled with respect. Beings who could feel the pulse of planets, who could adapt to any rhythm, who could learn new steps in the cosmic dance. Your world taught you to feel magnetic fields through your bones, to sense pressure changes in your blood, to read energy patterns in the sky. Maya remembered all the times humans had inexplicably known a storm was coming, had felt earthquakes before they hit, had sensed things they couldn't explain. We thought those were just survival instincts. They were graduation requirements. The Zenthian's colors shifted to a deep, reverent gold. And today, you passed the final exam. The water began to drain away, but the protective fields around them remained. They found themselves floating in space, surrounded by thousands of Zenthians. Earth shone below them, more beautiful than ever. The quarantine was never to protect the galaxy from you, the lead Zenthian said. It was to protect you while you finished your training. And now, a new ship appeared, unlike anything they'd ever seen. It seemed to be made of pure energy, its form shifting and flowing like the northern lights. Now, the Zenthian continued, you're ready to join the true galactic alliance. Not the political one you've been negotiating with, but the deeper one. The alliance of species who can hear the universe's song and join in its dance. All of humanity, Jackson asked. We're all ready? Every human carries Earth's lessons in their DNA. You've all graduated. You just needed to understand what you'd learned. Maya looked at the energy ship, then back at Earth. So what happens now? The Zenthian's crystal forms blazed with light. Now you help us prepare other worlds. There are young species who need teachers, planets that need gardeners, cosmic dances that need new choreographers. Earth trained you to be not just survivors, but mentors to the galaxy itself. The energy ship opened like a flower made of starlight. Inside, they could see technology that seemed to merge with thought itself, systems that moved like living things. Commander Maya Chen, Lieutenant Tom Jackson, the lead Zenthian announced formally. On behalf of the Cosmic Alliance, we invite you to be Earth's first official representatives. Your planet has trained you well. Will you now help us train the universe? Maya and Jackson looked at each other, then back at their beautiful, challenging, wonderful homeworld. Earth had never been a prison. It had been a school, an academy, a training ground for something greater than they'd ever imagined. Maya stepped forward, a smile spreading across her face. "Earth taught us never to back down from a challenge," she said. "When do we start?" The Zenthians' crystals chimed with joy, and the cosmic dance began anew, this time with humanity joining in the eternal rhythm of the living universe.